People online love to throw around the phrase worst year ever. Sometimes it's over a disappointing movie or a bad news cycle. But if we're talking about human history as a whole, historians and scientists argue there's one year that truly earns the title, 536 AD. Many grim years have scarred the past, but none had such a devastating and long-lasting impact on the world as this one. Today, we'll uncover why 536 has been called the single worst year to be alive. While serving under the famed Byzantine general Belisarius, historian Procopius noticed something bizarre in the skies while traveling through Sicily. He wrote that the sun shone like the moon, dim and pale, as though it were permanently in eclipse. For nearly an entire year, daylight was weak and eerie. He wasn't alone in this observation. The chronicler Michael the Syrian later described how the sun grew dark for 18 months, offering only a faint glow for 4 hours a day. Crops refused to ripen, and even the wine soured. For people at the time, it must have felt like the end of the world. Modern scientists believe the culprit was a massive volcanic eruption, blasting ash into the atmosphere and cloaking much of the globe in shadow. Plants need sunlight and warmth to survive. With skies darkened and global temperatures dropping by up to 2.5 degrees Celsius, agriculture collapsed across multiple regions. Ireland recorded a terrible food shortage they called the bread failure. Other parts of Europe, Asia, and the Middle East reported widespread famine. The sudden cold and darkness stretched on for years, causing hunger and desperation everywhere it reached. As if starvation wasn't enough, disease followed close behind. The infamous plague of Justinian erupted in Constantinople only a few years later. Accounts describe victims developing painful sores and swollen limbs before succumbing. The dead piled up in such numbers that bodies were dumped into the sea, only to wash back ashore. Emperor Justinian ordered the corpses removed, but that only spread infection further. Historians estimate up to 50 million people died in this pandemic, a catastrophe that forever scarred the Byzantine Empire. China also endured bizarre and deadly conditions. 6th century chronicles describe yellow dust falling from the sky, summers with frost, and even snow in August. Crops failed en masse, leading to famines that killed between 70% and 80% of the population in some regions. For the Chinese people, 536 was not just a bad year, it was 2 years of relentless hunger and cold, with entire communities wiped out. Evidence from ice cores in Greenland and Iceland confirms a cataclysmic volcanic eruption occurred around this time. Two more eruptions in Iceland in 540 and 547 only deepened the crisis. Some researchers suggest the event may have been triggered by an eruption in Central America or even North America, with the ash cloud spreading worldwide. These eruptions together ushered in what scholars call the late antique Little Ice Age, plunging the planet into a decade of misery. The chaos wasn't limited to Europe and Asia. Across the world, in South America, the Mocha civilization of Peru faced its own nightmare. Their society depended on fishing and advanced irrigation, but an unusually strong El Niño event warmed the seas, devastated the fish population, and unleashed floods that destroyed farmland. For the Mocha, the mid-6th century brought economic ruin and starvation, another reminder that the effects of 536 were global. Back in the Mediterranean, Emperor Justinian was trying to restore Rome's old glory. His general Belisarius won military victories against Goths and Vandals, but repeated revolts, famine, and the plague undermined everything. The Byzantine Empire lost between 1/3 and 1/2 of its people, crippling its strength. The dream of reviving the Roman Empire faded under the weight of these disasters. Centuries later, scientists pieced together the story. Harvard historian Michael McCormick and a team of experts studied tree rings and ice cores. The rings showed stunted growth in the mid-500s, proof of colder conditions. Ice cores revealed volcanic fragments dating precisely to 536, confirming Procopius's eerie observations. It was scientific validation of what ancient witnesses had described. The skies truly had gone dark, the earth truly had cooled, and humanity truly had suffered. Not all was lost forever. Later studies found traces of lead in ice cores, signaling that silver production and coinage eventually resumed. This suggested that economies began to recover, slowly but surely. The lesson from 536 is sobering. Even when the world feels like it's ending, societies adapt. rebuild, and push forward. So, was 536 really the worst year in history? For millions of people facing famine, disease, and endless winter, the answer was yes. Yet humanity endured, proving once again that even in history's darkest chapters, recovery is always possible. If you enjoyed this dive into the past, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Which other worst years do you think deserve a closer look?